Morning, everybody, and welcome to The Art as Well. This is your, not weekly, but every second week, we have a special guest on, and it's a lovely way for you artists to connect with each other. And I'm delighted that it's still going strong after probably 3 years. This is actually episode 99, which I believe we've one more to go before we reach the 100. And we've had 70,000 views. I mean, the numbers are just wonderful. So it's going from strength to strength, I'm delighted to say. I'm also delighted to welcome this morning our guest, and that is David Fox. Good morning, David. How are you?
Good morning, Alan. Very good. Thanks very much.
And where are we talking to you from?
You're talking to me from my studio this morning. I'm at Palace Projects on James Street.
James Street. And you're literally, we might see out the window later on when we're doing a little tour, but you're literally opposite the famous James's Gate, the actual gate.
You might sneak out for a sneaky pint during the break.
Nice, yes. Sorry, but there's no break. Yeah, we'll have to maybe afterwards. So that's great. And how long are you in that particular studio?
I'm with Palace Projects for, I'd say, about a year and a half. For the first half year, I was in the Coombe. They have two spaces at the minute. So the original space was in the Coombe, and they're there for years. But I think the lease was kind of running out, and they weren't sure. It was kind of an uncertain future with them. So they kind of branched out, and the Digital Hub had some spaces available. So they've expanded as well. So they've doubled their artists nearly in the last year. So I've been in this new space in the Digital Hub for just over a year.
So you're in there with a bunch of techies as well.
Yeah, it's very mixed, but there's different buildings as well. It's an old Guinness site. I think the building's leased to Guinness. But even the building that I'm in now it's kind of mixed. There's a lot of artists and stuff like that, but there's also people downstairs, involved in other businesses that you might not know of.
Sure. And there are around about 20 people, are there?
Yeah, there's about 20 here. Yeah, I think people are still moving in, and I'd say there's probably about 15, 20 even in the Coombe as well. So that's an estimate.
Yes. And tell me, originally you were born in Tullamore, isn't that right?
Yeah, I'm from Tullamore. And originally born in Portlaoise technically, but yeah, born and raised in Tullamore essentially. Yeah.
Very good. And when did you sort of get this spark of interest in art, and how did that sort of develop in your early career, your early life?
Early life, yeah, early life, exactly. That's when it started. I suppose it's kind of like the typical story that any artist will almost say is, when you're in school and you were the person that was good at drawing, and the kind of people will encourage you, and you felt like, okay, there's something here, But I suppose my dad as well is an artist, kind of illustrative artist, and he works for the local council, county council in Offaly, and sometimes they commission him to do some of the local heritage sites. Very good draftsman, at drawing and stuff like that. So I suppose drawing is the foundation of it all, So through school, entering competitions, you would have always got maybe won some prizes as a kid, and just encouragement from teachers and such. And
I mean, I think that's kind of critical, isn't it, David? The encouragement of teachers, because I have one or two students who and should remain nameless, and particularly their schools, but their teachers are just, I mean, they're off the wall, and they get anything but encouragement at school.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I actually, a kind of a poignant story comes to mind, if you don't mind me share. But I had a fantastic art teacher in the tech in Tullamore, Mona Cleary. Miss Cleary, her name was. She gave me every bit of encouragement in the world. But I went on and kind of followed the path and went and done my degree and master's degree and so on. And obviously now I'm working as an artist professionally. I have a studio. But I'd say about 2 years ago, I got this letter in the post, and it went to my home house, my parents. And when I got back, I opened it up, and it was actually a letter from my old art teacher.
Really?
From years ago, yeah. So when I left school after my leaving cert, I went and done a portfolio course in Moat, and part of the portfolio course was to go back to a school for a week and do a bit of work experience, And so while we were there, like, the teacher took obviously photographs of us doing it, and she wrote me a beautiful letter, like saying how brilliant I was with the kids, and just again, like, her encouragement was still there. That kind of gave me a boost again. It's like, this is great, because obviously as an artist, sometimes you're isolated and you feel like you need a little bit of a push now and again. And that was kind of a nice booth, but there was two of us, and kind of sadly the other girl had passed away, that was in the photograph. So it was kind of a poignant
Yeah.
letter, to receive. Yeah.
It's
Years
always
later.
third party validation as against from your parents who love you anyway.
Oh, they're very supportive. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So tell me, what did you do when you left school? What was your career path after that?
It was kind of a little bit muddled at first because I'm very much a motor enthusiast and fixing cars and stuff like that. So I was kind of half thinking of being a car mechanic. So I went down that road and I was kind of about to start an apprenticeship. I was working at a local car garage in Tullamore, and I was doing some drawings and I was getting commissions of drawings, kind of the usual stuff when you're that age, maybe some portraits and stuff like that, famous people, like even remember doing George Best and Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that, But I remember one day my manager in the car garage, service manager, says to me, "Bring in some of that art there and have a look at it," So I brought it in and he turned around to me one day and he says to me, "What the bloody heck you doing here?" He says to me, "You should be off be this famous rich artist." And I was like, well, 18-year-old me was like listening to him. So I thought maybe he's right, but I don't think we're rich and famous yet, but but we listened to him anyway. And it just so happened to be that I actually had applied for GMIT in Galway to do the degree and I got accepted. So I kind of thought, maybe there's something in this. So that was kind of the push
Yes.
for me to go down that route,
But you still kept your interest in motoring, haven't you?
Still very much so, yeah.
Can you tell us how? Because it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but it ties into the work, which we can talk about later, because a lot of them are kind of road scenes and stuff like that. But I'm a qualified driving instructor.
Yeah.
So I do a bit of that part-time, cars and buses. I've had motorbikes. I do a bit of racing. I was doing a bit of racing at Mondello Park.
Yeah.
And I also was teaching racing at Mondello Park because I'm a driving instructor. So yeah, it's very active in that scene as well. Yeah.
And it's obviously spilt over onto your practice, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, it has. Yeah, I've actually even made paintings of depicting the raceway at Mondello Park, which is hanging up in their office at the moment. And as you see throughout my practice, there's a lot of road scenes, and sometimes you could be sitting in the car, even with driving lessons, looking out the window, and you'd be kind of getting lost in a landscape or something, and something will click. Right, I gotta go back and take a photograph of that one the next day or something.
Yes. And you have some work in the road authorities as well, I believe.
The National Transport Authority, yeah, there was a commission, a bus painting, yeah. They had the new livery. They painted all the new buses, this a different shade of blue to the Dublin buses because Go Ahead Ireland came in. Not to get into too much of that, but Go Ahead Ireland came in and took over some of the routes there. But one of the paintings was hanging up this kind of lovely blue, lighter shade of blue. But then last year or so, they're after totally changing the livery. They're all gone green and yellow now, So maybe I'll go in and touch it up or something. But
Exactly. Yeah. So you went up to Belfast at some point, didn't you, to further your studies?
Yeah, after my degree in Galway, I just kind of said to myself, look, this is not going to be the easiest path in the world, so I might as well throw everything at it,
Yeah.
So I just thought, well, what's the next step? I was kind of thinking of teaching, I was thinking, where else can I go with it? Get a studio. But I thought, maybe to get to the next level, the best path would be maybe to apply for a master's degree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I applied to the master's and the MFA course in Ulster University, and so Belfast School of Art. I got accepted to that, so packed my bags and off went to Belfast and spent several years. About 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all in university, was it?
No, 7 years living in Belfast. The master's was 2 years, 2-year masters, full time.
Yes. Okay.
But that was great because you just got to. Well, one, you're meeting new people, new kind of community of artists and new galleries. You're getting in because you're in the masters. Like they're introducing you to the right people and stuff like that. So you're really kind of broadening your horizons by doing the masters, and it was really beneficial to my practice today.
Okay. So when you came back down to Dublin, or did you? Was that the way you went after Belfast?
Yeah, I'm in Dublin about 6 years now. So I was in Belfast for 7 years, had a studio there with creative exchange artists, and then something just shifted in my circumstances at the time, and moved to Dublin,
Yeah.
2018. Yeah,
Now I know you're represented by Olivier in the Olivier Cornet Gallery in Dublin.
yeah,
I'm always intrigued how people get selected for being a gallery artist in a gallery, because it's a very difficult thing to do, isn't it? Or to get
yeah,
into. How did
yeah.
you actually go about that, and how did you do it and succeed?
Well, to use Olivier's example specifically, well, Visual Artists Ireland have speed creating events, and they get together. They have it once a year, you know. So it's an opportunity for artists just to attend talks and do a bit of networking
Mhm.
and a little bit of insight, a bit of professional practice, a bit of advice, stuff like that from other artists you might look up to. But they also do a thing called speed curating. So
Hmm.
it's like speed dating only with creators.
Yes.
So classic idea, you know. I jumped on it straight away, and I think it was one of the very first ones that did up in where was the Belfast Exposed Gallery, and I had booked Olivier because I was aware of him, and when I approached him, Olivier is a very much a gallerist that's very much in socially kind of engaged work and projects, and he comes up with different kind of concepts, and he kind of challenges his artists to rethink and respond to different topics, you know. So at the time I was doing a project based on, let me think, the Peace Walls at the time,
All right.
in response to the 2016 centenary year. You know, I was kind of looking at Belfast and the Peace Walls and how there's still a lot of division and stuff like that. So I went to the speed creating, and Olivia took an interest in the project, and I think he invited me down for a group show or something like that. So that's kind of where that started, and it kind of developed from there. And you know, it's 6 years now later, and still working with Olivia. You know, which has been fantastic. You know.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And let's go back to the speed dating or speed curating. I like this idea. Did you? I mean, could you approach a number of galleries? You know, have a sort of a date, as in, you know, a chat with several galleries, or did you just go for the one?
But you can book up to three. That's how to do it.
Ah,
You have to be fast as well, because like I know it's the last couple of years, like you go on and then they're just gone like that, you know, because some of the more well-known creators might be just snapped up straight away. You know, it's first come, first served. But I actually attended it just this week on Monday. It was in Tullamore, actually,
yeah.
the new art centre, Esker Art Centre.
Mhm.
So still going strong with the whole get together every year, Visual Arts Ireland.
Yes, yes, very good. So they do this every year, yeah?
Yeah, I've attended most years recently. Yeah.
And do they move
I
around the country? It's not
think
just, they obviously move around the country doing this, do they?
Yeah, well, it's been in Belfast. Last year it was in Dublin, and this year it was in Tullamore. Well, Tullamore has this new art centre that only opened recently, so that was fantastic venue to hold it. You know, just state of the art space. So, but that was convenient for me as well, because I could pop down to the parents as well for the night. You know,
Of course.
so I can see the dog.
Get the washing done, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. David, I know your studio is quite small there, but obviously it serves the purpose and it does the job. Can you give us a quick 360 of your space there?
Yeah, well, I said it's happy to use the word quaint. It's small, but it's kind of serves its purpose. But I suppose you have to kind of take into consideration studio rents and stuff like that. But for what I do, it's perfect. What I'll do is I'll just
It's
reverse the
reverse.
camera.
Yeah,
So, but you're starting off with a very messy section. So,
that's right. Well, I told you not to tidy up.
yeah, I didn't tidy up. Yeah, well, I tidied up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, a very small amount. But obviously
Yes.
I'm in the middle of getting ready for an exhibition. But the studio's a bit of a mess. You can see there that I use everything but the kitchen sink. You know, I have
Yeah. See
beans,
the beans there?
beans tins, and all sorts of plastics and stuff that I can just get that I can kind of mix paint on. You know, um. So just give you a quick look around. I'll go up to the door. So that's kind of the size of the studio. It's long, but it's an hour enough space. But as I said,
does the job.
It suits me down to the ground. Yeah, so that's kind of some of the works I'm working on. That's the latest piece that I'm working on at the minute.
Materials, David. Tell us a bit about your materials, what you use, and are you oil? Are you acrylic or what?
Oil paints. Yeah, you can see they're covered in paint. Oil paints are covered in paint essentially, but just like Winsor and Newton oil paints, artist quality, you know. And I use a lot of, as you can probably see, there's a lot of bottles there. This low odor premium white spirits, because my work tends to have a lot of kind of loose kind of layers and washes.
Yes.
And drips and stuff like that. So I kind of get that technique by using a lot of thinners, and that's why I have to use the low odor one, because the low odor one obviously is less harmful to you.
If you didn't know any better now, you'd say that you weren't actually using oils in those paintings.
Yes, a lot of people say possibly watercolor, you know, because they do have that effect. You know, they can be as unforgiving as watercolors sometimes, where sometimes the first layer that goes down sticks, and it almost has to be right, you know. Some of them are a bit more like there you can see the kind of the drips and stuff and the effects that I tried to get, you know.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, it really does
yeah,
sort of after rain effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's have a look out the window and see where you are.
Oh yeah, it's the street, busy street, James's Street. There's Guinness. I can zoom in. No, I can't. But there's the main gate for Guinness there across the street.
Most people would know that from the Christmas Guinness ad where the snow is falling.
Oh, that's it there. Yeah, wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So that's pretty, yes, it looks very quiet out there. Yeah, there's a couple of people heading into Guinness, as you can see.
Yes. Oh, the storehouse, of course, is around there, is it?
Yeah, just up that alleyway where they're heading now, yeah.
Okay. All right, sure, I'll see you there later. Very good.
Yeah. First round's up.
Yeah. And brushes. I mean, are you a brush snob? I mean, I love asking people about brushes, because some people are very precious about their brushes, and others buy them in Lidl and throw them out after one use practically.
I have some favorite brushes, Alan, but as far as being very precious about my brushes, I'm probably the worst artist in the world for that, because you can see they're just tucked into the spirits, you know, to clean them, and then I'll come back and I'll take them out and dry them, you know. But no, I'm not very particular about brushes. I just kind of tend to go through them, and as they kind of harden, I'll just throw them out, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Very good. Okay, that's super. So we'll have a look at some of your work.
Yeah.
Now. I'll screen share and you can talk us through them. And I think they're divided into about 3 different sort of themes, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's kind of like my wider painting practice, which is an ongoing throughout my career, and just some kind of projects in between.
Yes. Okay. All right. There's one thing before we do that I want to talk to you about, and it's something that just came to mind. I literally stumbled upon it recently on Instagram, and that is the Riddler art competition.
Oh yes.
Quite intriguing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm not sure if many people are aware, but there's a guy. He calls himself the Art Riddler, and he is just some random guy who has an interest in the arts. He's obviously got some money behind him, and he just kind of wanted to give back. So what he done was he put on. Last year was the first year to do it. He put on a painting prize, where he put an exhibition on. I think about 40 artists, and one person got a 10,000 euro check.
Wow. Very
so
good.
So it's his own money. He just wants to kind of get. I think he's just like who he is. No one knows who he is, obviously, because he's anonymous, and he wears this mask, and he communicates via Instagram, and there's just a lot of mystery behind, you know, why he's doing it and who he is and such, you know.
But there's no cost of entry, and there's no cost of displaying, and if you sell your work on the 2-day event, which is yesterday or today and tomorrow, is it? It opened yesterday.
Yeah.
And there's no commission on that either. So it's a completely altruistic thing. I've no doubt, though, that as a collector, he's getting a great insight to what the hell is happening in the art world. You know, young people coming up, and you know, who's hot and who's not.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot of young artists that are kind of not going to use the word trending, but young artists that are kind of up and coming, emerging, I suppose, probably the better word. But yeah, it was on last year. It was just, it caught everybody by storm, because it was like, well, is this a scam, or is this guy genuine? Who is he? Is he mad? Is it, then some of the local media started writing about it, and the reputable ones, and it was kind of like, okay, this is genuine. So then artists started jumping aboard, and I got into the show last year. It was a bit of fun, it was just a guy in a mask who turns up, and then he goes to the bridgeway at the back of Brown Thomas and waves over everybody, from a distance. So nobody knew who he was, but yeah, I think 400 people turned up. There was queues up the road, and so it was just a bit of fun.
Didn't they get something like 600 plus entries to this?
Yeah, well, last night I was at the opening. I was obviously going to have a painting in it again this year, and I think he said last night when he got up, he was actually there last night in person. He wasn't there last year. He was there in person.
Yeah.
He had a mask on last night when he's walking around. But he stood up and he said there was 700 people applied.
Oh, 7. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
This year. Yeah. So there was 45, I think, in the show.
It's a great opportunity, and particularly for those who aren't represented by a gallery.
Yeah, a lot of artists wouldn't be represented by a gallery that'd be there. Yeah, exactly.
So people want to see this. It's only on for 2 days, today and tomorrow.
It's on today and tomorrow in Studio 10.
Yeah, which I think is Wicklow Street, isn't it?
Yeah, just off Grafton Street, back of Brown Thomas. Yeah.
Across away from there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, worth checking. Yeah.
That'll be interesting if you're in town to have a look at that. Yeah. Okay. Again, Instagram is interesting. You mentioned Instagram as being the source of all of that particular hype and how the whole thing developed. How important is social media from your point of view, for your practice?
Yeah, well, I think generally speaking, with artists, there's a kind of you have to be careful, because you can become somewhat reliant on social media, and well, I suppose an artist is in solitude and to paint alone, and you could be in a studio working on a piece, and it could be wrecking your head, and you just think it's crap, blah blah blah. Next thing you post it on Instagram, and everyone loves it. So it's a good platform for feedback and support, and getting into the network of other artists, and getting yourself seen with curators. They might not be liking your stuff, they might be complimenting your stuff, but to follow you back, they're seeing your stuff.
And you're on the radar.
You're on the radar, exactly. That's exactly what it is. So it is really, really important, because everything's kind of being pushed that way anyway. The old, maybe kind of before social media kind of took off, it would have been, to drop in and hand in your CV, or send them an email that you might not get a response to either. So social media is a good way for them to look at you and see what you're doing without you having to reach out to them.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think an interesting thing that I think people should appreciate is that you and I, just before we went on air as such, we're talking about Facebook and how dreadful it's become. You used to get hundreds of likes on Facebook, and now you'd be lucky to get 2 or 3. Whereas Instagram seems to have taken over that slot. But it's important for people to remember as well that, likes aren't everything. I think people can get terribly hung up on likes. And, you might get a lot of likes, but are you getting the viewers? And if you actually look, certainly on Instagram, if you look at view insights, you'll see how many accounts it was actually seen by. And that's just as important. I mean, if you want likes, you bring up your pet dog and your cat, and everyone will love it. But that doesn't necessarily mean, if you're not getting the likes, that people aren't actually seeing what you're doing and don't appreciate what you're doing. It's important to bear that in mind.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's have a look at some of your work now, David, and you talk us through it, okay? And this is the first one.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. So as I've mentioned, I have a wider painting practice that I've been kind of working on since I graduated, and I continue to work on throughout my artistic career, So I'm a landscape painter, as you can see. I'm very much kind of engaged with the contemporary Irish landscape. So these are all paintings scattered around Ireland, of places that I visited firsthand. I've been everywhere that I've painted, so they're kind of like, they're almost like a visual diary kind of documentation of some, when I'm in my 70s or 80s, it's kind of like almost like a visual diary or
Yeah.
of places I've been, essentially. So this painting is I said I was into cars and stuff like that. So a friend of mine owns a car garage in Eton-Derry, and I've been there quite a lot, fixing up cars and stuff. And I think not to be rude, but I think I went around the back of the shed to go for a pee one time, and there was this beautiful sunset, and just caught my eye. And then obviously the bus was there rotting away, decaying, and there was another bus in the background, and a load of scrap cars. I just thought, well, what a scene! So I just took a photograph, and obviously went back to the studio and made a painting of it.
Yes. Wonderful. Yeah, I like that. Now, one of these that we're going to be looking at was accepted in the RHA this year.
Yeah.
So let us know when that arrives, won't you?
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Don't be shy. Okay, this is the next one.
I'll tell you a little bit about the paintings. That one, that bus painting was in the Art Riddler last year. That was the one from the Art Riddler exhibition.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Last year.
Very good. All right.
So you've seen that in my studio already. That's just a painting that I did. That kind of ties in with the painting that I done for the RHA. So during COVID, obviously everyone was isolated, and the only thing you could really do was go for walks and exercise. So we used to go for cycles with my friends, and actually moved back to the parents' house for just a couple of months. And I was back in Italy for quite a while. So this is a scene depicting Mount Lucas Wind Farm on the Derry Lynn Bog, I think it is, close to Dangan, County Offaly. One day we jumped on our bikes and we followed the Grand Canal, and we came across a Bord na Móna railway bridge, and for the crack we just went up onto the bridge and we got lost on the train tracks. So we're cycling down these train tracks in the middle of nowhere. We got lost and we ended up essentially at the wind farm. So that's one of those snapshots I took on my camera there.
Yeah, I love that. I love the colors in it. There's just something very,
thank you, yeah,
very attractive about it. Okay,
cheers. Yeah. There's a painting that I done last year of the Ridge of Capard, which is in the Slieve Bloom Mountains, which is very dear to me. I painted a lot of paintings from the Slieve Blooms, childhood memories and such, growing up with scouts, whatever. I was always up in the mountains, even mountain biking, I was up in the mountains. So that's the Ridge of Capard. It's actually on the County Laois side of the Slieve Bloom Mountains, which isn't too far from Tullamore. It's a lovely, fantastic boardwalk. You can just walk for miles, and there's a lost village there. Fantastic place if anyone ever wants to visit, and you can link that to Glen Barrow waterfall and stuff as well.
And is that boardwalk a recent addition?
I'd say it's there maybe 10, 12 years. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful area. Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. Gorgeous.
So again, that's Slieve Bloom Mountains. A lot of people said to me, this painting looks like something out of Banff or America or something like that, but it's a log cabin in the Kinnity side, the Offaly side of the Slieve Bloom Mountains. I remember one time I was in the Scouts as a kid, and we went camping there. So there's a lot of childhood memories, and that evokes memories essentially for me and nostalgia. It's one of my favorite places in the world. I still visit the site. You can cycle around and stuff like that. We actually went camping with a couple of friends there a couple of years ago during COVID as well. So it's a cool spot to visit,
Lovely. So where exactly is it? Sorry.
It's Kinnity, County Offaly, Slieve Bloom Mountains, just close to Kinnity village. It's called if you get it on Google Maps, it's called the log cabin.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Scout's Den. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. All right.
So that's the RHA piece now. Yeah.
You got lost on.
Yeah, well, that ties in with the wind farm one. It's the same. There's the train tracks I was talking about. So we were just cycling along, and this is literally in the middle. Like all you can see for miles is bogland, and these train. So I was just cycling along, and there was nothing to see. There was maybe the odd scattered machine or something like that, but there was literally nothing around except for train tracks. And I just stumbled upon this crate, and I just thought it was just interesting how it was just in the middle of nowhere, and. So I just took a photograph and made a painting of it. It was only this year I made the painting, and luckily enough, it got accepted to the RHA and sold as well. So it was brilliant. Yeah.
That's in this year.
This year, yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Well done. Well done
Thank
indeed.
you.
Now this is moving into a different theme, isn't it?
Yeah. So that was just to give you an example of a wider practice. That'll always be ongoing, just these kind of rural landscapes. This was a series of paintings I made, which I've mentioned already, about in response to the 2016 centenary year. I was living in Belfast at the time, and I was working as a driving instructor. And the thing about these peace walls is when you first go there, you go there as a visitor, or when you first live there, they're quite intimidating, and they're overwhelming, and there's a bit of fear about, oh man, I'm in the wrong area, get me out of here, or whatever, But
Yes.
having lived there and being a driving instructor and having clients from both sides of the divide, I'd become accustomed to them. They were just every day. I didn't even bat an eyelid with them, So, but this is a very popular tourist wall. This is the main peace wall that divides the Falls Road and the Shankill. So these paintings were kind of made in response to the 2016 centenary year, where Belfast is kind of still, kind of uncertain future, and there's still barriers that are maintained that divided communities. So that was kind of what I was bringing the spotlight to.
Yes. Okay.
So same concept again. This is a scene from East Belfast, the Short Strand. So on the right, you see that's the kind of the nationalist area of Short Strand, and then over the wall it would be the Protestant area.
And David, the wall there on the left-hand side, is there graffiti on the wall, or are there various things depicted, or is it just plain?
I think that one was plain, but the last one, obviously, as you've seen, is plastered and graffiti. And the last one, even people still today, like turn up on their tourist buses and they get off and they'll mark their name and sign it, But that one there isn't as popular. It's just kind of more in the kind of normal everyday setting, the tourist buses don't bring you over that. But tourist buses tend to stay west. This one is actually over in the east, so it'll be a quieter area.
Yeah.
But again, it's the same thing. It's just a big wall dividing the two communities.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And same again. That's actually moving on to a different series of paintings here. So the last ones were about Belfast and the peace walls, and this series of works was about the border. So I'm very much inspired to make paintings about my current surroundings and where I am at any given time. You see a lot of Dublin paintings, you see a lot of Belfast paintings, because it depends on where I am at any given time. But obviously, being from the south and living in Belfast for several years, the border was very common to me. So obviously Brexit put the spotlight on the border and the uncertainty about the Irish border. So I just thought, maybe it's time to start looking at the border, and I made a series of paintings of border crossings, exactly, just to kind of highlight the mundanity of them and the everyday scene of them. And God, you wouldn't know you're crossing, any type of border here. A lot of them, even in the country roads, you wouldn't even get a road sign or anything change,
Yes. 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 Exactly. Yeah. And
yeah,
quite a definite demarcation, isn't there?
yeah.
And likes of this is a bit of a clue, isn't it?
Yeah, that one there. I said the last one was just the main road from Dublin to Belfast, and then this one here is like if you come off that road heading to Newry, just as you cross the border, you have on the building on the left, money changed here. So that's obviously that giveaway, and the Irish Times actually done a video piece on this, which might be, if anyone wants to look it up. And we met down at this particular site. That's why it's coming to mind. We actually met at this site and we talked about this particular setting and other settings as well. So yeah, that's money changed here, the building on the left.
Yeah. No, that video actually I've seen is very, very good, and you should look for it. I'm not sure how you'd find it. Is there?
Yeah, well, usually if I'm trying to find it for reference, I'll just Google my name, Irish Times, and it pops up straight away,
We could try that. What we'll do is we'll also put it down on the description under the video. After
yeah.
I just didn't want to show it as part of this because of copyright, but
yes.
we'll do that. There's no reason not to. Okay.
Again, that's another border, same thing. Just to give you an example of a couple of them. Again, you can see that the kind of modernity of the scene. Like it's like there's a petrol station. You've got a miles, maybe that's kilometers one. So like sometimes the only thing you see a difference is miles per hour
Oh,
or kilometers, or the yellow road marking. The yellow road marking is the south.
mm,
So if you go across the border, it'll change to white. So sometimes that's the only indication that you've actually crossed the border, you know. So there's that freedom of movement that was there that I was kind of highlighting that's at risk, you know.
yes, yes, yeah.
Okay. So this piece now is coming back to my latest project, what I'm working on now. So earlier this year, I got the Arts Council grant, the Agility Award.
Yes.
So I was kind of in two minds about doing this new project because, you know, obviously my paintings are very rural and that's my ongoing work and I want to continue doing them. But I also like to get involved with other little bits and pieces to keep my own practice interesting and to keep me kind of interested and
Mhm.
excited about making art. You know, something new is always and something fresh is always exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I kind of put it to the Arts Council and I got the award. So I was like, fantastic. Look, I'm gonna have to throw everything at this and give it a good go, you know. So it's all about kind of depicting street art and graffiti in urban environments, and looking at the uptrend of street art and how it's become popular, and how it impacts communities and how people use it for identity and like this idea of like tagging. You probably noticed that somewhere around Dublin you see a lot of tagging.
Explain that to me.
Well, tagging, I'm not an expert on it, Alan, myself, but but there's one that comes to mind. There's a guy who goes around, like say like a Volk or something like that, but it's all over Ireland, and once you're conscious of it, you just see them everywhere.
But when you say that, are you talking about the likes of hashtags?
Well, tagging is kind of like, right. So say I've got a logo or a brand.
Okay.
But what I'll do is I go down a dark alleyway, however it works. I go down a dark alleyway at night time and I'll tag my logo on that wall. So
Yes.
it's almost like saying David Fox was here, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And then I'll go around Ireland or wherever, whoever does it, and they'll tag locations. It's just like it's almost like tagging wars between them all, you know, see how far they can get with it, you know.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
found that interesting. Yeah, and that's in some of these new paintings, yeah.
Very good. Okay. And here's
That
another.
last, that last particular piece, just to highlight, is the one that's on display in Art Riddler exhibition right now.
In where?
That's in the Art Riddler exhibition right now.
Yes, is it? Okay. Yeah. Very good. Is
Yeah,
that a large piece, David?
it is. Yeah, it's one of my larger ones. It's about 120 centimeters by 90. Yeah, it's one of the larger pieces that I do. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So the last piece was the only part of this series that's not an Irish scene. So I'm kind of more interested in the street art, the uptrend of street art in Ireland. You know, in urban environments. Last piece was actually from a trip to Newcastle. But moving to these paintings here, this one is quite familiar, I'm sure. It's the mural on the quays in Dublin here.
Mm-hmm.
It's by Art of Asbestos was the artist. I believe that the piece was made in protest to knocking down the building. You know, obviously there's a lot of buildings been knocked down to turn into hotels or apartments or whatever. You know, so there was a bit of if you can, I know you can't zoom in on it, but the writing on it says "Do not remove," and
Yes.
it's surrounded by the bricks, so it's obviously saying, "Look, please don't knock down this building." You know,
Yeah. Where is that in Dublin?
that's just along the quays, say like near Forecourts, I think, just up along there.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. 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 Because there's a lot of controversy about hotels being built and whether we have too many or too few. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm sitting in this studio now, because Palace projects were uncertain that you know, what the landlord was going to do with the place. So that's why they moved a lot of us over here, you know.
Ah,
But they're there to survive. So,
yes. Yes. Okay.
yeah, so try and obviously, you know, it's very similar to the work my ongoing practice. You know, obviously more engaged with the rural landscape, but there is a lot of the concepts that carry through, like overlooked everyday kind of spaces, the
Mm.
road settings, you know, obviously the trees and stuff like that, and skies are very much what I love painting. You know, my favorite things to paint almost, and cabins as you can see. But this is just a cabin outside across the road from the Hugh Lane in Dublin, and for me, like a lot of these tagging, that's one of the tags, you know, evoke. It's very overlooked. But when
Yeah.
it's on your radar, it becomes very, like, obviously graffiti's on my radar now. And say even if I'm doing a driving lesson or something like that, I just see this everywhere. You go, because it's on my mind and I can't not see it, because and it's not mundane to me anymore, but to everyday people, like, they're gonna walk by that cabin and not even bat an eyelid, But for me, I'm like, oh, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one. Get the
Yes.
camera, and
You should trip over to Rome. We have Maria's on the line there, Maria Gabriella, and she lives in Rome. But Rome is full of graffiti, isn't it?
wow, excellent. Yeah, yeah. I've been a few years ago, but I said graffiti's more on my radar as of later this year. So yeah, I definitely love to get back if that's the case. Yeah, beautiful city as well.
Yeah, indeed. Is there something you'd venture into doing graffiti yourself?
I have thought about it, but I suppose in terms of my practice, I'm an observer. I
Mm.
observe what people do, people's actions, locations. I like to just look, and as you can see, like, I'm not just painting someone's graffiti on a wall. I'm actually creating a scene, as well. So I think I'll stick with what I'm doing. I would love to get into it, but
Yeah.
I think my own practice as an observer is the right path for me,
Makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
telling the story of it all rather than being part of
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Um, so again, another Dublin. A lot of these are Dublin because I live in Dublin, but I have been to Waterford, and I've been to Belfast, and I've been to Kilkenny, and I've done as much traveling as I could the last few months to try to get this project up and running. This is another Dublin scene from Liberty Lane. It's just around the back of Whelan's pub. If anyone's ever been there, it's worth a visit because the whole lane is just plastered in street art. It's actually really a sight to see.
Is that off
Um,
Street, David?
of which
Oxford Street?
I'm not 100% sure. It's not far from
I
it's
thought
not far.
there.
It's around the corner from Whelan's.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's one of those Boojum restaurants just right next to it, and there's a lane that you almost wouldn't see it because it's a narrow lane, but as soon
No,
as you
exactly.
turn to it, it's called Liberty Lane. So you get it on Google or whatever, but it's definitely worth a visit. But an interesting thing about this scene is that I don't know how the graffiti thing works. They must have a society and have a plan and say, look, you can have that wall for 6 weeks, but in the 6 weeks, whoever else will have, Joe Bloggs will have it for another 6 weeks. Because I painted this scene probably 6, 7 weeks ago, but I went back to Liberty Lane to take more photographs. And this scene's completely gone, completely wiped out. Another artist has come, all the kegs are gone, the skip is gone. I was like, God, this isn't the same place. So it might be
Yes.
another interesting concept to the project.
Very interesting. And is this going to be part of your exhibition, your upcoming exhibition?
Yeah, I was just on the tip of my tongue there. Talk about the project. I'm actually working towards a solo exhibition, which was part of my application as well for the grant. At the Olivia Cornet Gallery it opens on the 10th of November. So I've been busy the last couple of months trying to get everything ready. So the deadline is looming, But yes, this is going to be all a series of new works based on street art and this whole project in general.
We'll come back to that because I know Olivia has put in a comment in the chat there about the
Yeah.
details of that. Okay, I love this. There's something about this I really, really love. Tell us about it.
Yeah. This is one of the only Tullamore ones I have actually interestingly. But there's the tagging that I was talking about. You can see the tagging clearly.
Yeah.
You see this that once you're aware of, I don't know if you turn out like me, but once you're aware of these things, it's kind of like getting a red car. And next thing you're driving around and you see every red car. Your brain is just aware of it. That's who I am with the tagging. You see them everywhere in Dublin, especially. But this is the train station in Tullamore. I think I was waiting to get the train one day. I just turned my back and I just seen the two tanks and I seen the tagging and I just thought, wow, what a great composition, firstly. And obviously the two tags are there. So I thought, to take a photograph of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. It's great.
Thank
I
you.
think the last one, isn't it, David? Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The last one, yeah. That's Waterford scene. So Waterford City is famous for the graffiti and the street art because they have the Waterford Walls every year festival. It was actually only on last month. And I was down there for a couple of days just taking a few pictures of, like, there's an abundance of street art. The whole streets are lined with beautiful, phenomenal murals and everything, you know, by some very well-known street artists. So this is one of my later paintings that I've done. It's kind of strange. I don't know what sort of a creature or character is with the three eyes. Look, there was something just very oddly odd about it that I thought it'd be funny to paint, you know.
Yes. Definitely an alien of some sorts.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Now, I'm just going to read out what Olivier said back in 2019 when he reviewed David's first exhibition at the OCG, which is the Olivier Cornet Gallery. Art critic Aidan Dunn wrote that David's work offers a novel insight into the contemporary Irish landscape. David's will take place on the 10th of November on the launch day of Dublin Gallery Weekend, a 3-day free event organised by the Contemporary Art Gallery Association, GAGA. They're a new gallery. I can't pretend to know a huge amount about it, other than it is a group of combined galleries helping promoting the arts. Okay, Brenda Moore McCann says, interesting documentation of Belfast walls and border. One so visible, the other invisible. Yes. Thanks, Alan and David. Interesting, but have to leave now. Or yeah, that's okay. Carol say, amazing work, just love them. Very interesting info on social media. Well done, David. David, I was going to ask you, because I have my own mind about certain things that I see may well have been influenced or influence you. Can you tell us about any particular artist who would influence you or who do influence you?
Yeah, I can, of course. Look, growing up, but going through the art college and stuff like that, and lecturers looking at your work, they'd always reference, you know, the kind of giants essentially in the contemporary painting world, like Peter Doig and stuff like that. I think a lot of those washes and techniques that I've showed you throughout the talk here, kind of is built from that, you know. But more recently, I've been really kind of looking at local artists. Again, Elizabeth McGill, she has a lot of layers and textures and builds up through washes. I'm very much into her practice. And Martin Gale is another huge one that I love his work. You know, I think more in terms of subject matter, I'm drawn to his work. I've seen a show recently by him, and the work just blew me away. So it's you really have to say that when you get out and view somebody's works in the flesh, it's truly inspiring for yourself as an artist. It makes you kind of want to jump back into the studio and get straight back into painting, you know?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. No, I thought there was a certain Martin Gale thing to the second last one of the tanks in Tullamore Station.
Yeah. But some people through college and stuff that would have said maybe likes of Hopper and stuff like that, just in terms of the subject matter, you know?
Yeah, okay.
Just for reference through college, you know, because that's what they kind of tend to do, is just get you to look at, you know, artists and try and, you know, build your career around that, you know.
Very good. There's a few other comments here. Eilish says, great to be introduced to David's work. Wonderful introduction to your work, says Hugh. And I think there's another one here. Miriam, congratulations, David. This is Miriam McConnon. Your work is fantastic. Best of luck with the upcoming exhibition. David, as an artist, is always very supportive of his fellow artists. It's nice to hear.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks very much, Miriam. Yeah.
Alan says, such an interesting talk. Wonderful to see work so full of personality and feeling of the Irish landscape and urban spaces. Thanks. That's from Marlon. Thanks, Marlon, for that. Anybody else like to say, Maria? I see you're.
Hello.
Hiya, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you, Alan. Always so interesting what you're doing. And David, congratulations for your job. I am really impressed, and I like a lot this landscape with a social content, if I may say. Sorry, English is not my native language.
Very much, yeah.
Not very clear, but I mean the fact that you always have a human interference. There's always a bus or a petrol station or a house or street. I find that very, very interesting, because in my opinion, that has also a social message, as I was saying in your paintings. That is a comment. And then I have a question for you about tagging and graffiti. are those synonymous, or tagging gives a message and graffiti doesn't give a message? Because sometimes, and mostly in Italy and everywhere, I think graffitis are just, people do that just for the pleasure of not seeing an empty wall or an empty space. So my question is, are graffiti and tagging different things?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Thanks. But I suppose the whole reason, like, this project came about was the fact that there is a difference between, say, a graffiti tagging would kind of become in the graffiti kind of category, and then there's street art. But the reason why I'm kind of making this project is because there's an uptrend of street art and graffiti, but more so there's support and there's funding. And if you think of graffiti, you think of kind of maybe illegalities about it. You know what I mean? But street art, it's publicly funded and it's commissioned and it's supported. Whereas 10 or 15 years ago, that was lacking in the society here in Ireland. But I'm not sure how it is back home for yourself. But recently I've noticed that murals and street art, there's a difference between that and graffiti. As I said, graffiti is kind of someone just sees a wall and their logo or their brand or their tag onto it. And I don't know how it works. I'll probably run away and hope to get caught. But with street art, it's more a sense of decorating the environment. But it's been promoted that way. And artists are getting supported, and there's some quite famous street artists at the moment as well.
Thank you.
And Maria Gabriella, in Rome, there's a lot of graffiti.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah.
What is the local view of that? What is your view on graffiti in Rome?
Mean, mine. Are you asking me or David?
No, I'm asking you.
Well, I hear there are too many, and of course, most of the people don't like it, because if it's just as I was saying, in many cases it's just for the people that do it for the pleasure of just writing something like I love you, Sylvia, or whatever, silly things also, or
it's not serious. Whereas mural,
and that the thing is, sometimes the wall is paint again to cancel the graffiti, but they go back and do the graffiti again. So you see, it's just a kind of the feeling that that a wall might be full of something, but not empty by itself.
Yes, exactly.
So
yeah.
It's not art, in my opinion.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Maria.
I mean, the graffiti with no meaning, not what you're doing in Ireland is different. There's a new term that I have learned from what David is saying, street art, which is, as I understand, the tagging. That is something different, no?
Different,
and I suppose that people need an authorization to do that?
Well, the other way around, the tagging and the graffiti would be seen as that, but the street art and murals would be the work that's been supported and the work that's been commissioned and such, on the gable end of buildings in city centres and stuff like that, where the graffiti tends to be more down alleyways and the buildings that wouldn't be as
David, do you need planning permission for that? Because wasn't there some issue about planning on a gable wall recently?
I don't have a clue. I'm not too sure what way it works, Alan, but obviously you need some sort of permission, I'm sure. But from my perspective, as the likes of Waterford, the Waterford walls and stuff like that, if you go to Waterford City, it's worth a visit just to see the murals alone. Like that's completely and utterly, it's funded and it's supported and it's promoted,
Yes. Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I can now tell the difference. All right. Did anyone else want to say something? Olivia, I noticed you had your microphone off there for a sec. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, in terms of tagging, graffiti and street art, I mean, different words will mean different things to people, but originally tagging was about writing your signature. So when it first came out, it was all about writing your signature in public places. And then I think tagging kind of replaced the word graffiti for a while. I remember like 20 years ago, it was all over, everybody was using the word tagging. But street art is a more generic thing, and it's subjective, whether you regard graffiti and tagging as street art or not, or whether for you street art is those beautiful murals. So it's very subjective, but street art nowadays is a very generic term. That we use to describe those, if you like, marks, man-made marks that people make in cities. But maybe just to say one thing about David's work, whether this is about graffiti or anything else, what I think is really interesting about David's work and quite unique is the contrast between man-made structures or marks like graffiti and the Irish landscape. And if you look at any painting by David, it's the one thing that personally strikes me every time. And it's the opposition between the two, or how they coexist. You walk about town, and if you're careful about what you see around you, you're going to see those contrasts, whether you like them or not. And David is really, really good at capturing that. And that's what makes David's work very unique. And that's what I look in an artist. It's the uniqueness of their practice. And you just have to look at David's work to understand how he captures those contrasts between urban structures and the Irish landscape, So this is very unique in David's work. And I met David in Belfast, as he explained, and I was so impressed how articulate he is about his practice. He's one of my youngest artists, and still at a very sort of early age, he was already very articulate about his practice and where he wanted to be. And that's a very good quality in any artist as well.
Indeed, absolutely. Thanks very much indeed for that, Olivier.
Yes, thanks very much, Olivier.
Very well put. Maurice Quillinan says, try Marseille for graffiti. The entire city is a giant artwork.
Wow, haven't been. Okay.
Didn't know that. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions before we wrap up? No? Okay. All right. We leave it there. David, thank you so much. That was really, really interesting. Fascinating insight into your work and why you do what you do, which is wonderful. And I think Olivia summed it up so well in the end there.
Yes, fantastic. Yes, absolutely. Thanks very much, Alan, as well. Yeah.
Not at all. Pleasure. So look forward to your exhibition on the 10th. And that's the Cornet Gallery, which is just a lot up the road from the Hugh Lane Gallery. So it's in Denmark Street. So, you can catch that as well. So there's a break for next week. I'm actually off in me holidays for a week and a day or two. And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another artist. And I look forward to seeing you then. So thanks again, David. Appreciate it. And thank you all for watching from all over the world, including Rome. Wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, all the best, everyone. Thank you, Alan. Cheers.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.